York County is so much more than just a stop for gas on I-80. 17 County is filled with unique individuals with unique stories just waiting to be told. Welcome to the 17 County Podcast with your host, Emily Perry.
This is 17 County Podcast. Thank you for tuning in for today's episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and listen. This helps our podcast grow, and we thank you for your continued support. We would also like to take the time to thank our York County Development Corporation members, AgriProducts, Cornerstone Bank, Nebraska Public Power District, and Central Valley Ag. Without these great members, we wouldn't be able to focus on the growth and development of York County here at the YCDC. So thank you. Let's get to the podcast. Okay, so today we have Marie Steskal, I hope I said that correctly, joining the podcast. Marie is a UNL graduate, and her husband and her moved to York in 2022. She works remotely for
Vivaic.
Yes. That's fancy.
Yes.
And is a learning designer. She loves getting involved in the community and is involved in numerous different things that we'll get into later. But one thing I want to point out is she is currently in York Olympics, and her team is doing very well. Better than my team, unfortunately, but that's okay. And I guess we'll just jump right into things. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So I guess just to start off with, tell me about you. Where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from Elgin, Nebraska. I graduated from Pope John, raised on a farm. I was super involved in FFA growing up. Met my husband. He went to Clearwater, and then we went to UNL. And yeah, after graduating, he found his passion for math in college. Craziest person I know. He didn't like math, took a calculus class, fell in love.
Interesting.
Changed his major and became a math teacher.
Interesting.
Yes. I mean, so many people say this, one teacher can change your life. So he knew that he wanted to be a teacher and decided to be a math teacher. And through my great connections in FFA, I got connected with my company that I work for, Vivaic. And so I knew I was going to work from home. We knew he needed a math teaching position, which isn't too hard right now.
Yeah, right.
So we were seeing how close we could get to home and landed on Cross County. And so that's where he teaches. And at the time we were looking at housing and it was a little tighter. And so we ended up in York. We didn't intentionally plan to. And oh my gosh, what a good thing it has been for us. Such a good sized town, especially for me working from home, the balance of getting involved, but also having things to do. For us, it's both closer to home and closer to our friends somehow than we ever have been. So we didn't know we were going to end up here, but after we graduated college in 2022, we were like, okay, we need to find a job, and this is where we landed.
It was a happy mistake.
Yes, it's been very good.
Okay, I have to ask, where is Elgin?
Oh, yeah, great question. Hour and a half north of here. Yeah, like I said, he's from Clearwater, I'm Elgin, Antelope County. So yeah, he's 2 hours away from home, I'm an hour and a half.
So not too bad.
Oh, very close.
Okay.
Yes. It's halfway to Lincoln and home. When we went to college in Lincoln, we would drive by York, not knowing that this is where we're going to end up.
Yeah. How crazy how all that works out,
Yes.
isn't it? Okay, so you talked about your current work, which is with Vivaic.
Yes.
What is that?
Oh my gosh, is that not everybody's question? Right. It's one of those corporate jobs where you're like, what do you do all day? Yeah. But yes, so it's a learning solutions company, which really just means we help with learning. So a lot of times that looks like K through 12, K through 16 education, like writing curriculum. It also looks like corporate clients and helping with e-learning or training. And then we have a special focus with both, like I said, K through 12 education, but also agriculture clients. So we work with John Deere, Corteva, those kind of clients of, hey, we're coming out with a new product, we need training on it, or, oh, we need to launch this e-learning for FFA members, or all kinds of things. So it's a little ambiguous, but really it's just anything that has to do with learning. So that's my job title, a learning designer.
Interesting. So it's a lot of behind the scenes setting the programs up. Do you guys actually do the training, or do you just kind of make everything work?
We're very customizable. So mostly we're on the back end and we're all remote. My coworkers live all across the country. At one point I had a coworker whose husband was in the military and she lived in Japan and worked from home while we were all asleep. So yeah, it's mostly just sitting computer work, and like that, having that remote job, I didn't realize how good was going to be for me. I have a very flexible schedule. I can get my hours in whenever I want. And I'm a very social person. So it's also pushed me to be more involved in social because I spend all day at my computer in my apartment. So I have flexible time to get involved with things and I have the desire. So it's been a really good fit for me, especially like I get to move where my husband wants us to move, right? Like I get to be the flexible one.
So how did you find out about that opportunity?
Yeah, so that was through my connections with FFA, which is such a blessing. And like I said, they're involved in a lot of those similar like clients and circles.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, because I've never heard about it, but it totally makes sense.
It's definitely a behind the scenes. You might have even taken a training that has been made by us, but it'll never have our logo or anything on it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So you talked a little bit about just working remotely and how it's really nice because you're flexible and you can get involved. What was it like, moving to York? You don't know everybody and, taking those steps to get involved.
That's such a good question. It was hard. Oh my gosh. I've had so many good conversations with friends that when you graduate college, it can be hard for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's this transition that's really hard. And transitioning in a lot of ways. So I got married, I moved, I started my full-time job. So it was kind of hard, which made me very motivated to get involved.
Yeah.
I think one of the first things I did, which is so funny to think back, is I went to craft day at the library.
Okay.
I was definitely, in a different age range, but we made crafts with books. I honestly met one of my closest friends now through that.
Oh, cool.
And it was really hard. It was really hard to make myself go to this event. I had no idea who would be there. I was going alone. And I was like, I need to get out of the apartment and I need to meet people. So it was really those things. And then once you start, it's the snowball effect of, okay, I met this person and now together we're going to go to a young professionals event. Right. Or now that we've gone to church, I'm more comfortable, signing up to help with something there. It's really hard at first, but like I said, I'm very social. I could tell I need to do this and it gets easier every time.
Interesting. So you're involved in a lot of things.
A few things.
A lot of things. So I guess, I don't know if we want to break it down, but just to start off with, you're very involved in your church, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So can you tell me a little bit about that organization and what all you do?
Yeah, so I'm a member of the St. Joseph Church here in York. So I started teaching CCD for third graders, which is religious education, Sunday school. That is also hard, but very, very rewarding. I have a lot of empathy for my husband as a teacher now. And so that's been really cool. I've gotten involved in some Bible studies. Honestly, I made some of my first friends in York through the Bible studies in the church. So that's always a comforting place to start and get involved in. And I always think York, I've lived in a few different size towns and it's big enough to have a big active church, but it's not like there's multiple churches and you're deciding which one to go to and you're not connected. It's a cool size that I really feel like I can get integrated in.
Sure. And I mean, of course, like you said, there's not a lot of different churches that are Catholicism within the area. You found this church, you went there.
Yeah.
How did you become involved? Did you just meet the right people? Was that a goal from day one?
Oh, that's another good question. I would probably say more the second, that it was a goal. Every place is different, and this is more what I'm used to. The style was very in the bulletin, hey, we need volunteers.
Yeah.
And a phone number. I'm like, oh, this is going to be so hard.
Yeah.
But I'm going to make that phone call and it's going to be okay and it's going to be hard. So I would say I definitely had to take initiative to sign up for things. But like I said, it was always very rewarding. And now I feel like when I do things, I have a smiling face in the room that I'm like, okay, I've met them before. I can sit at their table. This is more comfortable.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then Pregnancy Resource and Family Center.
Yes.
I know they do a ton of different things, but what all do they cover what made you want to get involved in the first place?
Yes, so this is such a cool resource that York County has. So the Pregnancy Resource and Family Center is Main Street, York. It is only open on Saturdays as of right now from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so there's just volunteers that volunteer once a month. And the center itself is just resources for families. So families can come in and get diapers and wipes once a week. They can get clothes once a month. There's baby clothes all the way up to like 5T. There's bigger items that are offered if the individual will take classes. So it's called Earn While You Learn. So there are things like strollers and car seats and cribs and all these things that can be expensive and high need. But there are also people who are done with theirs and ready to pass them on to a good family. So all I need to do, it's very easy, is like 3 hours on a Saturday, and I just make sure that the resources are being distributed correctly and sort resources, and it's a really cool thing. And I think it's a little untapped in our county. Like, it's really word of mouth, but it's so cool that there's this resource for families.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone were to have something to donate or wanted to take advantage of the services, when could they do that?
Great question. So there is a website, like Google Maps and website, if you want to like see the phone number and the hours. But Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., there's definitely someone there with the door unlocked. That's a great time. If that time doesn't work, I would recommend calling the phone number. Because yeah, like you said, whether someone wants to donate items or whether someone's looking for resources, everything is free for those that need it. Yeah,
absolutely. And so another thing that you are heavily involved in, and I am too, and it's a great program, is York Olympics, which is run by York Young Professionals. What is York Young Professionals? What do they do?
Ooh, great question. Yeah, so I joined the York Young Professionals board fairly recently, but have been going to some of their events. It's a very casual organization that is just events for young people in the community. I've gone to bowling and family barbecue and to like presentations and more formal things and lattes with leaders of just someone in the community sharing their story. Like I said, I see it as very casual in the sense of like, I just look at the agenda for the month and think, okay, that one sounds cool. Oh, that one I have a work meeting, that doesn't work. But I can kind of bounce in and out to whichever ones I want. And the more that I've gone to, I'm like, okay, now I have these familiar faces. Okay, now I know these names. And it's so much easier every time and fun to go to. And it's this cool shared experience that I get to have with other young people in the community of like, hey, upcoming is one on home maintenance. And it's like, I don't quite own a home yet, but that's a future goal. Like, I totally want to learn about this. Or, hey, like, let's do a fun event with other young people in the community. So that's been really cool to both, like, come as a member, but now being on the board and being able to help plan some of those events. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I mean, talk about the right place to be if you're just moving to town and you need to meet people.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, I hadn't experienced another community that had this. I mean, I'm sure like Lincoln has different versions or whatever else. But again, this goes back to the size of York. Like, there's one organization. It's easy to get involved in. And there is an organization, right? Like, it's cool that there is a Young Professionals in the town and that there's enough, you know, like we do rotating like tables and just have supper with each other. Like, it's cool to just visit the restaurants in town and try different things. And yeah, it's a cool thing, exactly like you said, to get involved in, especially when you're new to town.
Yeah, and I will say I know the people that run the program, and they're great people. They're absolutely amazing.
Yes.
So definitely a program to look into. I know the listeners are probably like, York Olympics? What on earth is that? Can you explain that a little bit?
Oh my gosh, York Olympics is so fun. Yeah. Yes, so it's been explained to me that this is almost like a revamp of a previous like summer games, but it's all summer long. About every 2 weeks, there's some challenge. And so we all formed teams at the beginning of the summer, up to 10 players. And then each challenge you take on, and they're so different. Like, we started with opening ceremonies, which was so fun, and then bowling, and then like a scavenger hunt around town. And there's also like trivia, and there'll be track meet, but it's like a goofy track meet. So I feel like our team has lots of different levels levels of like athletic ability or interests. And so it's really cool that every challenge is very like, oh my gosh, this person's gonna be really good at this one. Or like, okay, I'll try my best at this one, but I promise next time I'll get us more points. So then obviously as you go through each challenge, there's different ways to get points, both at the challenges and outside of them. And then the leaderboard is getting posted in the paper, online. We're all vying for first. I think I'm on Team Cornhusker Crusaders. I think we're like third or fourth, but they've told us that we still have a chance to get more points. So I'm still vying for first place.
Yeah, we can still do it. I'm on the dream team, and I think
gosh.
we're in third or fourth too. So me and you
I'm like, we're head to head.
right there. But it's so much fun because
So fun.
I'm not athletic.
Yeah.
At all. And it's very apparent when you watch me do anything. I am not athletic. But there's opportunity for me to still, like you said, achieve good things and like actually get points.
Yes.
It doesn't all have to be these like high ability people.
I'm so surprised. Maybe this is like, I do low expectations. I'm so surprised how fun it is. Like, oh my gosh, we had the scavenger hunt and it was pouring rain.
Yeah, that was so fun.
It's like, since this is the first year, or at least with this like format and style, it's like that I don't know what to expect. While we were in the scavenger hunt, which by the way, our team did all on foot, I was like, this is so much like, oh my gosh, we're running all around town. And we got done. It was like, that was a blast.
Yeah.
And then our team is a cool, like, I think there are other teams that are like workplaces that all join together. Our team is a hodgepodge of friends, which I think is so much fun. And so we had a core group, and then we just kept adding to our team.
Oh, that's awesome.
So we had someone who didn't know anyone signed up for York Olympics on their own, and they got added to our team. So that's a new person I got to meet. Someone's cousin and his fiance joined, so that's a new person I've gotten to meet. And it's like, it's so fun to have this experience with these team members all summer. And then you also get bonus points for going to community events together and taking a picture. So all week long, our group chat is like, who wants to go to the farmer's market? Who wants to go to the movies? Like, that's so fun.
Yeah. And I will say, strategically, that was brilliant.
Yes.
For the organizers of
Agreed.
the program to do. Our team is awful, and we'll be like, let's do this. So we'll go, and then we'll be like, oh, you didn't take a picture. That's okay. But it's getting people out in the community and getting you to, learn about all the different programs, which is awesome.
Yes, there have been some definite I'm out of my comfort zone moments. Some of the bonus point opportunities during the scavenger hunt were to like record your team like doing like a scene from Friends, or record your team like you're doing a tunnel walk at a Nebraska Husker game. And I was like, this is embarrassing and I don't want to do it. And then we did it and it was so fun.
Yeah, it's so fun. I'm sure some people in town were like, what on earth?
Oh my gosh, we made so much noise.
I love it. Okay, so another thing I had learned from you that you have picked up recently is crocheting.
Ooh, yes.
Tell me about that. Like, Christmas gifts?
Yes, okay, this probably leans into my, like, I work from home, I live in an apartment, and I have too much free time. But this past Christmas, lots of family members to give gifts to, and I started thinking, like, how can I get unique in my gifts? So if I'm going to be honest, and the crocheters are going to cringe, a week before Christmas, I decided I was both going to learn and make a blanket and give it as a gift in my in-laws' white elephant gift exchange. And I had no idea how lofty this was. I took about 2 weeks to learn stitches, and it wasn't even until a week before Christmas that I actually sat down and started the blanket.
Oh my goodness.
Every call at work, I was secretly crocheting under the desk. Every spare moment, my hands were cramping. And my sweet, sweet husband had to tell me we were about to leave for Christmas, family Christmas, and I was finishing the last 10 rows. He was like, I don't think they're gonna love it as much as you do. I don't even think the blanket was bigger than my dimensions. Like, it was as tall as me. It was as wide as my shoulders. It was insane. It looked terrible. So anyway, that's the long way to say that I decided, okay, for 2024 Christmas, I'm actually going to learn how to crochet. I'm going to try to make homemade gifts. I also started making vanilla, which I learned is very easy. all it is vanilla beans plus alcohol, probably vodka, and thyme. Like, you just leave them sit.
Interesting.
And it's like way richer than store-bought vanilla. So anyway, I'm on this quest to make homemade gifts for Christmas and like see how my crochet skills can build over a year. Because like I said, I have a lot of free time. And when I'm on those calls and I don't have to turn my camera on, I'm just like crocheting under my desk.
I love that. I think that's awesome.
My name's Don Freeman II. I'm president and CEO of Agri Products in York, Nebraska. We are a manufacturer of quality equipment, grain handling, food storage, food service. And if you ever want to get a hold of us, you can get on our website or you can contact us at 402-362-5500. Thank you.
I remember when my mom started crocheting, and it was rough. But now she makes really beautiful things.
Okay, that's another thing. This is like my obvious life lesson is like it was really hard at first and I was really, really close to giving up. And now it's like so easy of like just sitting there and doing it while I'm not thinking. Like it was just that initial hump that I had to get over.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Very cool. And very cool about the vanilla. I did not know that.
I mean, no one's taste tested, so maybe I should hold back until we've tried it. But that's what I'm working on.
Okay. I'll need an update because I am intrigued. So.
It's so easy. Yeah.
Huh. Well, I guess my last question in the interview portion is what's next? Do you have anything coming up or anything exciting planned?
Ooh, that's an interesting question. I will say, since my husband is a teacher, he goes home most of the summer to help his dad ranch and hay and all those things. So I am everywhere in the summer. I traveled for work to Kansas City and New Orleans. I go home at least over the weekend, if not longer, and just work from there. Friends visit. So anyway, I feel like my life is like I'm never home for more than 3 days. Oh, my poor garden and my poor plants. Yep. But so anyway, what's coming up is a little bit more like Marie around the state of Nebraska. But then once school starts, I'm actually starting to get ready to like be a little bit more planted and rooted. It does make it hard to be as involved when I'm like, oh, I can't be there for that or that or that. But it has been fun to be able to be that flexible with my job and my lifestyle.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. I have to back up a little bit, and this may be selfish, but are you doing Canoe Battleship on Friday?
No. I am so excited. Okay, so I have to explain what Canoe Battleship is.
Yes.
It's insane. The Boy Scouts donated canoes for York Olympics. We're putting them in the city pool, and each team fills a canoe, and then you attempt to sink the other canoe only by using ice cream buckets or whatever you have to dump water in their canoe. Like, you can't touch each other, you can't tip each other, anything. You're literally just trying to slowly sink them in the city pool. It sounds so fun. So I was so looking forward to it, and unfortunately we have a wedding, but I just got confirmed that we'll have enough team members to do it. Good. So I cannot wait for the videos. I cannot wait to hear how it goes.
I know. I think it's gonna be hilarious. I'm so excited.
That's so fun. When do you get to put a canoe in the city pool? Yeah. That's once in a lifetime. I'm never going to have an excuse to do that again. Right?
Well, my question is where everybody that created all of these events came up with it. I mean, how do you come up with these events?
These are great questions. Yeah. A lot of crowdsourcing and creative ideas, I think.
I'm sure, because I've never even heard of something like this.
I do think it started off one video that someone saw but there were no rules. So they had to come up with the rules. There's a trial video you can watch on Facebook from the York Olympics Facebook page of the young professionals just figuring this out as we go.
I love that so much. That's so cool. It'll be so much fun. And I'm sure, hopefully, knock on wood, York Olympics will be a thing again next year.
I hope so too.
So I guess back up even further than that, but if somebody wants to become involved in young professionals, how do they do so?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can go on to the Facebook page, very easy to access young professionals. And I think there's the necessary like phone numbers, emails on there. But really another strategy, which is what I did, was go on the Facebook, find the first event and go start shaking hands. And they will absolutely get you signed up, help you with the registration. Because a lot of the events you don't have to be a member for. So it probably took me 2 or 3 events to feel it out and say like, is this what I want to join? Like, I think for bowling, it was paid for the young professionals, but I still participated. I just paid my own bowling. Or a lot of the other ones, there was no barrier if I wasn't a member. So that was how I got started because I felt more comfortable that way of like, let me figure it out first before I start signing up for anything.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Good. And the website is on the chamber website, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. And that is, I believe, yorkchamber.org.
Yes.
Okay. So now we get to move on to I think that it's the easy part. Hopefully you agree with me. But we call it hot potato. So it's going to be like Coke or Pepsi type questions. To start off with, fall or spring?
Ooh. I tend to be an anticipatory person, so I'm always excited for what's next. So I'm excited that fall is going to be next. Like, I mean, it's hot out. Like, I'm enjoying it, but like fall harvest in the garden and like a little bit cooler weathers. So, but if you would ask me in winter, I would say spring. So it's whatever season is next.
That's totally fair. Totally fair. Are you a TV or a book person?
Oh, TV. I am a Bravo Real Housewives girl. I didn't used to be, but once you get into it, it's so good.
Hooks you.
It hooks you. It's real people in real lives. I mean, I know some people say it's fake, but I stand by. It's real people in real lives, and it's interesting.
It is so interesting.
Honestly, I have learned now, my coworkers, I think, were a little like, okay, that's a little superficial. And I was like, okay, I have learned some real life lessons from watching Real Housewives of like genuinely watching relationships play out on TV, like watching people apologize to each other and the impacts of an apology. Or most of the time when someone's going crazy, it's because something really serious is happening in their life that they're not ready to share yet. Or, you know, like the value of inviting people to events and the impact of their feelings or the things you say to them or how you handle a situation. I know. People think it's superficial, and it is, but also watching real relationships play out over many years has taught me some life lessons.
I have never, ever, ever looked at it like that.
And what not to do. I mean, there's a lot of what not to do.
Absolutely.
But sometimes they learn. And then you're like, that's a good example of how you can become better.
That is really interesting. I kind of want to go watch some now.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
Bravo Stan.
Fruits or vegetables?
I would love to be a vegetables, but it's fruit, 100%.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, right now, with everything in season, everything's delicious.
Fruits, I would say I'm a tomato girl, so that's a vegetable, but it's not. It's a fruit, so
Yeah, however you categorize it.
yeah, right. It counts as healthy. That's all I know.
Yeah.
But travel or stay home?
Both. I know that's like not the point, but like I am such like a everything in balance and variety. Like that's something I love about my job is it's 100% work from home, and then we have quarterly meetings in person where I get to travel to cool places. So it's the perfect balance of like, let me do my own thing in my home office, let me be really productive and like get my groove, and then every once in a while when you start to get like a little frustrated or a little too focused on the project work, then we go to somewhere fun like Santa Fe, New Mexico. Ooh. And you're like, okay, it's all gonna be all right. Fresh scenery, get to see my coworkers in person. So I like the balance, and my job really does give me that.
Interesting. What's the best place you've been?
Santa Fe was really good. Colorado Springs was beautiful, and it was our first meeting after COVID. So there was something about like seeing the mountains that I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah. Being outside and interacting, I'm sure.
Yes.
And, yeah, just bliss.
Yes.
Okay, movies or TV?
Still TV.
Still TV.
Yeah.
Gotta
I mean, there's some good
it.
ones, but like I could spend all day watching Real Housewives.
I love that. That's awesome. Farm or city?
Farm, for sure. Okay. I have both in me, but like growing up on a farm, that was very important to me and my family. And then going to Lincoln, I've loved this time away from the farm. And that, I mean, but still being, York is definitely still rural and agriculture. But the older I get, the more I really value that farm rural life.
Yeah, and so for someone who's never lived on a farm, describe that, because there's a lot of life lessons you learn,
Yes.
and there's a feeling to it.
Yeah, there is a feeling to it. Like, how do you put that into hard. I do think there's a lot of like immediate, like put in the physical hard work or the time and the labor and get to see the rewards. Like that's something unique of like, I mean, a garden is honestly my best example of like being able to plant the seeds and weed them every day and get sweaty and be out in the garden and have to be like, I need to go on vacation, but someone still needs to water my garden and I'm very tied to it and it has like responsibility, but then you get that really beautiful harvest that it's just different. So to me, it's similar to the feeling of a garden, but just like at a different scale.
Yeah, right. Yeah, absolutely. I like that. That's cool. Board games or card games?
Board games.
Do you have a favorite?
I have so many board games. I like a different board game for every group and every event. So I don't know if I want to call a favorite. I like that I have a variety of them, and then depending on the group, I'm like, oh, you seem like a ravine group, or like, oh, you seem like a plunder group. These are board games that I've gotten recently. And then it's like every Christmas, get a new one and be like, okay, how does that one fit, you know?
That's also an interesting thing that I've never... It's kind of like recommending, like, books.
Yes. I mean, you have your classics, which I also love. Like, you know, the Monopoly, the Scrabble, like, those are always great.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a lot of unique, well-designed board games that it's a really fun hobby to get into.
Yeah. Interesting. I'm learning so many new perspectives. It's so cool. Well, I guess that kind of wraps it up. Do you have any parting words of wisdom? And this can be for people moving into town or people looking to get involved or people just listening to the podcast.
I'm going to go with the theme of the day that apparently I've been bringing up. I did not pre-plan this, but a lot of things were hard when I first started them that have gotten a lot easier. Like, going to the first Young Professionals event, I was probably secretly shaking, you know? I was trying to play it cool. I just, like, didn't know what to expect. And now I get to look forward to those when they're on my calendar. I get to be a part of the planning. Like, there's just that initial part, and I know that, and it doesn't make it easier to get over it, but it does make me want to push through it. Just because it feels uncomfortable, it's going to be hard at first, and that's what's going to make it even better in the end, because I was willing to do the hard stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And that sounds kind of like what you described with the farm.
Yeah, exactly. I was just thinking that with my garden. Oh my gosh. So I've been traveling. Like I said, I abandoned my garden for 3 to 4 weeks.
Oof.
I had to go last night and weed that. It was terrible. I have a million mosquito bites and it looks so much better. And now I get to enjoy fresh green beans and it was worth it.
Man, so cool. It's so cool. I've never been a gardener, but I've always wanted to.
It is the most, like, put in the work, reap the rewards, while also riding the challenges. Like, it's not the year for green beans, and that's okay. I said I have a few green beans, but, like, I had, like, half that emerged. So, anyway, it's like, that's a unique thing about this year. That's so interesting. I learned that. I wonder what I can do next year. Like, it's a cool thing to put in hard work and see reward, and it's also a cool thing to, like, next year I want to try this way. Like, I don't know. I think gardening is a good, like, example of a lot of things in life that you put in the work.
Yeah, interesting. I love making jams and like canning things and stuff.
Totally
but I don't
garden.
I know, right?
You're on the track.
It seems natural, but someday. But all right, well, unless you have any other parting words of wisdom, we'll go ahead and wrap things up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I know I gained a lot of perspective and insight, and I'm sure everybody else did too. Once again, if you were interested in getting involved or being a part of anything that we talked about today, you can always reach out to the YCDC and we can put you into contact with whoever that may be. We're always happy to help. So thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
In closing, we would like to once again take the time to thank our members, the people that help us drive change. We would like to thank York State Bank, Henderson State Bank, York General, Meade Lumber Company Incorporated, and York News Times. And thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. Catch you next time.